Can you guys hear me? Should I use a microphone? Should I use a microphone? Can't decide. Let me see. I can just clip this on me. Check, check, check. Check, check. No, I'll check with this. Okay. So, when I say okay, I need y'all to say okay, okay? Okay. So whenever I say okay, say okay. Okay? Okay? Okay. And that's throughout the whole thing. Okay? I need you to say it louder. I didn't say okay. Okay? All right, well, just a quick question. Whoever can raise their hand fastest and is passionate about it, I want you to tell me the speaker that impacted you the most when you were at a Creative Morning. Hollis. Oh, nice. And that's kind of the reason why I'm here. She contacted me. Why is that? Nice, nice, nice. Okay. Jake, Taylor, can you guys stand up? This is a part of my team. Jake and Taylor, they're part of the band. Make some noise. I'm gonna have them come up real quick and get started. Go ahead and do your thing, guys. Now for you guys out here, let me see, who has a pin on them? I've got one. So what I want you to do is if you have a pen, I want you to write one word on that piece of paper that you got in front of you. Big. Big enough so I can see it, hopefully. And then pass it to someone else and just get your pen back, hopefully. Or we'll just pass them to the front. You can collect them at the end. Anybody that doesn't have a pen wants to use one real quick? Nice, nice. Could have played for the Mariners. Just didn't. Yeah, just one word, huge as you can on that piece of paper. Now this time, I'm going to pass around the tithing basket. So whatever you feel that you can give, whatever you have in your hearts, whatever you feel moved to give, just want you to go ahead and reach down into your pockets, deep in your pockets, and give that. You want to, yeah, just go ahead, put as much money as you can in there. No, not that. No, the money. And then pass it around. Traditionally, it's 10% of your income, but where did brother go with the tithing basket? Did he run out? Oh, okay, it's right there, okay. How are those words coming? Cool. How's that money coming? Okay. Everybody got those words written down? Okay. 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 Who played basketball in their life? You guys know what a crossover is? Somebody come and show me a crossover. You said get first. Come on down. The price is right. Come on, encourage her. Come on down. What? Don't say can't. You got this? Make some noise. Make some noise. You said you've been playing for 10 years?
It has been 10 years.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? A young, spry lad. Can show me a crossover? That's good, Will. Oh! Come on, Z. I've hooped with you before. Good man. Jake. Okay. So today's theme is crossover. And I love that. When David hit me up, he emailed me and he told me, well, at first I was on tour and he hit me and he told me that he had contacted Hollis and that he wanted me to speak. And I thought that was cool because I'm usually up rapping. And it's funny because when I set up my set times, we'll have like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and a half sets, you know. On the tour, it was a 30-minute set. And we would have everything calculated with all of the set times, with all of the times that we had on the tracks and everything like that, on the songs. We knew, okay, this song's about this long, this song's about this long. Okay, cool. So we're good, we're great, we're under 30 minutes, we're good. got a couple of minutes to spare. But every night, I would be going almost over because I'd be talking. And we realized, we're sitting there like, how are you going for 45 minutes? And, you know, we have 25 minutes worth of music. What's going on here? Yeah. So I thought it was lovely. I could just come here and that's all I have to do is talk. Because I love talking. So this is great. At first, what was the theme that he sent me? He said that it was colors. So I was on tour. I was on the tour bus, and that's when I got the email. I was excited. And he wanted me to come in for September or something like that. But we didn't get together until now. So I'm here now. And the theme is crossover. I was excited about that because I feel like that applies a lot to a lot of things in my life. And it's a theme that's kind of come up about a few times. And also, it's one of those words that means a lot of different things. You Google search crossover and images, and you'll get a bunch of weird-looking SUVs that pop up. It's also that. It's a basketball move, you know, the crossover. It's a shake. It's also something when you're in one field and you cross over to the next field. It's a music term when it gets used loosely, but it's a music term where you're in one genre and you cross over to the next, and now you might get more money if you do that correctly, or you might lose your core fan base and just mess up, you know, because you faked, I guess. So I love that. It's a little triple entendre. So with those pages and those words, what I want to do this time is, the other thing that really jumped out at me was he told me that he wants it to be unorthodox, and this one he wants to be way different than the rest. And so I thought that was great because I love to shake it up. So with these pages, what I want to do is I kind of want to bring you guys into my mind a bit. And my mind is all over the place. If you know me, it's all over the place. I've heard the term like spaghetti thoughts. I don't know. But to me, it's like I see a web. And it's like when I hear a word, I make all these different little connections. When I tell a story, it might take me an hour to tell this one story. It should take like 2 minutes because I'm going through and I'm looking at all the little details and, and then that was that. And bringing it. My grandma is the same way. She's just even more. And a lot of people think she's crazy, but if you sit and listen to her, you realize, wow, this is making a lot of sense. It's just the timeline is like, you know? So I wanted to bring you guys into my mind a bit, and that's what these papers are here to do. So we're going to shake it up, and we're going to freestyle a bunch. So at any moment, I might point at you, and I'll ask you to, or when I point at you, you'll put up your piece of paper. Okay, what does that say? Juxtapose. Why'd you write that? You a designer? Was? What does that mean? Raise your hand if you're a designer. Okay. You guys all like Photoshop, InDesign, or does anybody design like a designer, like design, you walk into buildings and design things, clothing designer, museums? Wow. Product design? Does anybody design like old school, like without Photoshop? You do? So what do you do? What's your interface? Okay. Nice, nice, nice. What's your paper? Wisdom. That's great. See, I love how this works because everything connects and it brings it. Okay, so as I walked in, I told you my name was Raz Simone. I also told you that my name is Solomon Samuel Simone. That's the name that my mother gave me. So when I was a child, ever since I could remember, every night I would pray for wisdom because my name was Solomon. So that just goes to show that names and words mean so much. I was raised and I learned how to read off of the Bible. So I was all up in that Bible, cover to cover, cover to cover. And I knew my name was Solomon. Solomon had written a few books in the Bible. He has a book named after him in the Bible. So I knew the whole story. And Solomon's story was that, well, it goes further, but one of them was that when he was a child, instead of praying for riches and, and power and all that stuff, he prayed for wisdom every night. So I did that. When I was a child, I didn't really realize, I knew what wisdom meant, and I understood that. But I guess I wasn't wise enough to know what came along with wisdom, how you acquire wisdom. Wisdom isn't quite intelligence. It's experience and all of that. So me praying for that wisdom, I really brought in a lot of different things into my life. And I realized that after the fact, like yesterday. So going back to like me as a little baby Raz, I had a great mom. I learned a lot growing up. I had a lot of different experiences. I grew up in public school, private school. I got to see a lot. I had really great examples of family. I had other examples that weren't the best. I feel like it was the perfect balance for me because I had a strong mother. And then, because I've seen when there's like two different twins and they grow up with all of the same circumstances, but one comes out amazing. They're a motivational speaker, they're doing all these things, and then the other one ends up getting drugged out and, just the worst things happen. And so I always look at that, and it's just different people that are affected by different things. You can go through the same exact steps in life, but different things affect you in different ways. And I feel like I got a lot of the good because I had the good examples, and that was like my base. But then I also had freedom because my mom would let me do whatever I wanted to do. But I wanted to do the good because I saw this beautiful woman doing good. But then I had, the bad examples to watch also. People doing drugs, people selling drugs, all that stuff. And it was like, now I know what not to do. Let me stay away from that because I already have this base here. I see how they are. I see how they've turned out. It wasn't like seeing a bunch of kids running around doing drugs looking cool. You kind of see the after effects of the 40-year-old or the 60-year-old who's out, and that's not what you want to do. So I thought that was great for me. When I was younger, I didn't listen to any music. I didn't think the music affected me in any kind of way. Either way, it wasn't anything. I would sing in the church a bit, but it wasn't anything special. I wasn't that much of a spectator. I didn't watch sports. I like to play sports. And so that's what I looked at as music. It didn't really do anything for me. I would do art. I would draw. My mom was a designer. She's a graphic. She does oil painting also, sculptures, all that stuff. So that was the only studio that I knew. But I loved writing. And about sixth grade, in sixth grade, that was when I really learned that I really loved it because I had a creative writing teacher named Miss Kleinschmidt. And we had an exercise that we were supposed to do, write poetry. And I wrote my first little piece. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. And it just really pulled to my heart. It was that place where I had that outlet to speak and to put everything that I was passionate about into this page. And then from there, I built and I kept writing. And then it wasn't until 8th grade that I realized that I was rapping. And I didn't even know who Tupac was. It's one of those things where, you hear someone's name, but it doesn't register at all. Like when I hear sports players' names, it doesn't register because I don't know anything about sports. When I heard Richard Sherman, I was just thinking of like an exercise instructor because I was thinking Richard Simmons. Like that's what I thought all the way up until the Super Bowl. Like I tell people I'm the worst fan ever because I'm like only cheering when they're winning, or cheering for the underdog. But yeah, so when I heard Tupac, it didn't register with me until 8th grade. And yeah, one of the homies like put me on. At that point, I was ready to receive it because I was rapping. That was what I was doing. And so once I started listening to a little bit of rap, I was like, ooh, hold on. Okay, stop. I had to cut myself off and not listen to anything because this is what I'm going to do. Like, this is totally me. And I don't want to hear anything else, so I'm affected by the other. I want to keep it pure, and I want to have my own style and be able to develop first and then move forward. So I started doing that. 8th grade was when I went and I recorded my first piece. So I was completely ignorant. I didn't know where you went to record music. You guys remember Home Alone, that movie? Okay. So I had a little talk boy from Home Alone, a little recorder, and that was how I thought people recorded music. I thought it was from a recorder. I didn't know anything else. So I remember I was listening to something, I think it was like some Dr. Dre, and I was like, how are they getting these layers on this? How are they getting these the vocal layers? Like, what? Are they recording twice over the tape? Like, how does that work? When you record over it, it doesn't, it erases what you just recorded already. I was like, what are they doing? And then I heard like, I'm like, what? Are they shooting off guns into the recorder? Got these gunshots and things, it's getting active. Like, that's what I thought. I'm not even saying this to be funny. Like, that's what I thought. And this is 8th grade. Like, so I started like looking into the white pages and asking around and asking people different questions. And then it popped up, it's a studio. People record in the studio. And, the only studio I knew was an art studio, like visual art. So I kept looking, it was a recording studio, and I looked up and I found this studio that was $50 an hour. And so I decided to go, and I rallied up some of my friends because they believed in me and they wanted to invest in me. So I was paying, they were paying, putting up on my success as a 14-year-old rapper. And so I went in, and they were such a great support group. They're like, man, you're gonna do it. You're the best, bro. You're the best I ever heard. Da, da, da. And I was sitting there like, man, I'm the best rapper ever. You couldn't tell me nothing. Like, that's what I felt. And so I walked up into the studio, and I was polite. I've always been a polite, kid, polite person. But I walked into the studio, I was so ready. They put on a beat for me, and I was like, okay, yeah. I pulled out my backpack full of papers. I've been writing forever. Like, I'm ready to go. I got so much to say. Put the stack out, went into the booth. And then I remember trying to rap over the beat, and I couldn't rap to the beat. I sat and I remember just like, I pictured my mom and like all my family members. I'm like, wait, can my mom dance? My mom can dance. She can stand on beat. I was like, I'm black. Am I really rhythmically challenged? Like, because I remember I tried to play the drums when I was in middle school. That didn't work too much, but I tried to blame it on the instructor. I was like, man, nah, So I'm like, am I rhythmically challenged? And I went home, and it was, when you're so discouraged, it's almost like when I was trying to learn how to ride that. Like, I'm seeing little old men whip across, and I'm like, damn, yeah, I got to do that. I tried to hop on, and it was not working, for a second. And then it's like you keep going, and you get it. But I was so discouraged when I couldn't ride that. It's like this old man is zipping around me, and I can't do this. This is ridiculous. So it was the same thing with that. I was so discouraged because prior to walking into the studio, I had decided that this was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Like, this was like one of my major callings. So I went home, I took the beat, and then I decided, one time in the middle of the night, I decided to write to that beat. It worked. So I went back in and I recorded, and then that worked. I built from there. When I was younger, I used to sing in the church. I used to go and sing at old folks' homes and like the Bread of Life for homeless people and all that stuff. But then puberty hit. My voice didn't really ever crack. It just kind of got low. And so when that happened, I was like, fuck that. I'm not singing anymore. turned away from it. But then as I kept going with music and with rapping and poetry and all that, I realized that I really was a sucker for melody. I love melodies. That's how I choose what I want to go over. And so I started starting to hum a little bit. And I call it melodizing. Not really singing. I'm just, melodizing. I got a little raspy voice, And so this is just another lesson. I realized that as I kept going, I kept on saying, yeah, no, I don't sing. I rap, I melodize a little bit. I do a little bit of, I hum a little bit on a song here and there. And I wouldn't own it. And so the moment that I really owned it and said, I'm a singer, I sing and I rap, that was when it really took like that. It was just me like turning that switch on. And so throughout life, I've seen these different switches that I can turn on in my head, and they make a world of difference. One time, flew out to New York. This is the first time I was really spending time in New York. Flew out there. I've never smoked weed in my life. Never done any drugs. Don't really drink. The most drinking I've done is communion wine, and then that was like until I was about 21 or whatever, 22. Then I would sip a little bit, But I'd never been drunk, and I hadn't even felt what tipsy felt like. So when I was in New York, and I realized it was mostly because I was responsible. All the time I'm always having to drive around, sell my drugs myself, drive in my car, hop out, watch out my surroundings and all that stuff. So I was very responsible. And so I never really had time to mess off like that. So when I was in New York, I was like, I don't even have a car in here. Like every time I fly out of town, I'd always get a rental car or get a car from someone else or something. But New York doesn't really work like that. You don't really land and get a rental car. You land, you hop on a subway, you hop on a shuttle to the subway, you walk. It's New York. Hop in a cab. So we were cabbing around, hopping the subways and stuff. And I linked up with a bunch of different friends that I knew from Seattle that happened to be out there at the same time. Ran into some random Seattleites, and we all ended up kicking it. And I decided I'm going to try and get tipsy tonight. And I think one of the reasons why, because even when I was drinking sips, one of the reasons why I never got to that level was because I'm such a slow person. Let me rephrase that. I'm a slow eater. And I think a lot, and I'm very thorough with certain things. Sometimes I'm all over the place, but like if you're asking me to wash your dishes in your house, I'm probably gonna take a long time. So when I eat, anybody that knows me, who's the slowest eater in the world? I eat very slow. So I drink very slow. Like I chew milk, like I chew water, like I sit there, I have to it has to do something. It's like this motion that I have to go through, So when drinking alcohol, even if I was trying to drink, I'm sitting there and drinking very slow. So I think it just never hit me. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to just drink fast and try this out. I've only thrown up about one time in my life. And that was in Australia. And we were on this boat. And I was just getting so nauseous, holding it in the whole time. And then everyone projectile vomited on each other. So my stomach's pretty good. And then we ended up smelling like barf for the rest of the trip. That was great. So I have like a nostalgic thing with barf. It always brings me back to Australia. But when I was in New York, I haven't even told it. I really don't like to tell people this. I'm really opening up a lot to you guys. I barfed. And I definitely still tried to hide it, I was like, yeah, because I've never barfed in my life, really. But yeah, I definitely barfed. Projectile vomited in the corner. Snuck off over this way. Chilling down. You good? You good? Yeah, I'm chilling. I'm just thinking a lot. I'm just thinking. Make a call real quick. But yeah, so that was something else. That was also a time in my life when I was trying to make a crossover. I was coming from just being in a place, just selling as much drugs as I possibly could. And then something happened. And it was something that I knew it was always there. And if you keep on trying to, because, I mean, drugs, that business, it kind of, the structure looks kind of like a Fortune 500 company. You can set it up like that. But only thing is that as you get bigger and you're, bigger than a mom and pops, it's not like you get different awards and accolades for that. You get more and more eyes. And the thing is that they always know what you're doing, but it's just they've got bigger fish to fry, or they want to really get you. They want to set you up and get you. So they'll let you do your thing. They'll let you do your thing and then come in on you. So I started feeling some coming in on me. And it's one thing like being arrested or having the police come up and tell you something or whatever, That's one thing. There was a point in my life that I was being arrested like every other week. And it was for different things, for random things, for some serious things, but really just like catching me driving. They know me, pull me over, we're arresting you. What for? Get there, the lawyer's like, if there's nothing in the paper, they just arrested you and you're in jail for the night. I don't know, So it was just like a regular thing for a bit, but it definitely sucked. It was one of those things where I hated driving, but I was always driving because I knew that this might happen. It was one of those like a mixture of driving while black or driving a certain vehicle while black. Like I would drive a Jaguar and a couple different other cars and things like that, and I just couldn't get away with driving them. And then if I drove in certain areas, then I'd catch different flack. There's also a time, you guys are familiar with the SPD, Seattle Police Department, right? You guys are familiar that they got investigated by the FBI for a while. It's like an ongoing little investigation they were doing. But yeah, there's a lot of corrupt individuals in there. And so, let me tie this back in. While I was trying to make my crossovers, keyword trying. I'm still trying, honestly. But while I was trying to make my crossover, I was keeping one foot over here while I was trying to go over here. But I wasn't moving it. So it wasn't working too well. Because while I was trying to go over here and do the positive, like I had saved up and I decided that I wanted to go get this club, and I got this club down on First and Jackson. And I was still underage though. But so we kind of ran it like a speakeasy type of thing. But it was like an event and then we, we'd have alcohol sometimes and things like that, But I was still doing my stuff over here, but I was trying to do the positive and trying to parade around with the positive, but still doing this stuff. And so I was frustrated, but I couldn't really be frustrated because I was frustrated because I was getting stopped up by the police so much over here on the good end. They were trying to like come and mess with me on the good end, but they weren't messing with this over here. So I was like, what the hell? Like, I'm doing good shit, but I'm also doing bad. But they're trying to get me on the good. So it was like, it's frustrating. I'm still in the wrong, but it was frustrating. And so, one time they came down into the club and they came down to talk to me. They did it illegally because they weren't allowed to enter the premises, the property. But the fire department was allowed to walk in. So they went and walked in behind the fire department and came in with them. And then they got down there, and they were just walking, looking around real quick. And then they came to me, and they said, "We see you're making money. We just need ours." And that's what they left me with. And what did I do? Excuse me, officer. I'm sorry. I'm new to the area. I didn't really know the capacity. And I just started talking, just saying, but not saying anything, but just. Sorry about that, officer. Trying to just act like I didn't hear that he was trying to run a racket on me and, trying to get me to bribe him. And so he just looked at me, and they looked at me. And then they walked out. And we were just looking at each other like, what the? So they walked out. And about 20 minutes later, they walked back in. Raz, you're under arrest. Put me in handcuffs. They'll start walking me out. And everybody's like, what the heck? What did he do? What did he do? And they started walking me out. And yeah, so that was one thing. And that's a whole nother story. When I was sitting in the holding cell, I went to sleep for a little bit, rested my eyes. Police officer walked in, and he was like, so, Raz, you got a couple shows going on this weekend. Huh. Okay. One at the Moore Theater. I will see how the Moore feels about you being arrested this weekend. Pretty sure they wouldn't like you to perform after being arrested. So I'm like, ah. So, and then also there's another one. It was a Zulu show, and I was actually going to meet my cousin for the first time because she's a queen of the Zulu Nation out in Pittsburgh. And so this was the first time in life she was flying down to my show, and I was going to meet her. It was going to be a beautiful thing. But I was in jail during the show, and she flew in and flew out, and I missed her. Then I got out, and I had the Moore Theater thing going on. I get out, and I call them. I'm like, yeah, just checking it. And I heard a silence, and they're like, Raz, we're really sorry, but we're thinking we're not gonna have you perform this time, but maybe next time. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not. This was like a whole like underage event, you know. I'm not gonna be this age forever. This is the last time I can. And I was like, is there a reason why we confirmed? Is there something going on? They're like, it's just. And they didn't want to say anything. And then finally they said, well, we heard that you were arrested this weekend, and yeah. And then I was like, yeah, I was arrested. I'm a black male. That's what happens. And they're like, well, it's just a lot going on this time. We're just not gonna do it. So I was like, damn. So before I started getting, going too far, I got off the phone because I heard that there was no reasoning. I said, yeah, I was arrested, but this is America, and you're innocent until proven guilty. And I was charged, but I wasn't convicted of anything, and I don't even really know what they arrested me for in the first place. But they weren't hearing anything. So then what did I do? I got on the phone and I called up my part of my management team, and she's a blonde white girl. So she called down, and then they just told her everything. Like, well, Raz was arrested this week, and we got a call from Phoenix Jones. And Phoenix Jones told us that he was arrested, and he told us that Raz is one of his arch enemies, arch nemesis, and that him and his gang of whatevers are gonna come, vigilantes, are gonna come down and disturb the event if Raz performs. That's what I said. I was like, what? I had never had any kind of contact with Phoenix Jones. So I was like, what is going on? So did the math, real quick in my head. And so what it was is that the police officers use Phoenix Jones as a torpedo to do their bidding whenever they can't do things. If you go on YouTube, you see different fights between Phoenix Jones and pedestrians, and you see the police officers being the referees. So that's pretty much what happened to me. But, you said what? Oh, okay, I'm gonna keep going a little bit. But yeah, so this was the crossover. But something a lot more serious started happening, and that was more serious than the Seattle Police Department. It was the feds that started coming around and asking questions. And they were talking to everyone but me. And that was scary. And that was when I was like, I need to get this together. So I started traveling, trying to get out of my environment, because I know that addiction is environment-based, and I had an addiction. I had addiction to trying to get money. I had an addiction to drugs, selling them, things like that. And so I was traveling around. That was what got me out in New York. So it got me to a few other places, and I guess there's a lot more stories to go on. But it was that crossover. And I realized that in life, we always need to make that crossover, but it's doing it the right way. And it's turning that switch on and being able to see, okay, I got this switch. So when I was in New York, a switch was turned on. I felt tipsy. And I actually liked it. It was kind of a cool feeling. I was like, okay, now I actually get why people like this. Until I was projectile vomiting on the corner of, 8th and whatever. So, but then from there I realized, you know what, I can turn this switch on. So then, from then on, when I went out, I would just turn all of the goodness of being tipsy on without having to drink. And it was a switch that I turned on. There's a few other little switches that I've had in life where it's just like, it's something that you find and it finds you, but when you focus on that and you want that change, it comes about, and then that crossover comes about. I'm also a big fan of mistakes, so making as many mistakes as you can that aren't gonna land you in a box, I think is great, and especially making them while you're young. We're all young, so we can all make them. What else? When I was a child, I thought that I was invincible. I literally did. I thought I was a Power Ranger. I didn't really think I was a Power Ranger, but I was pumped up on that. I didn't think anyone could beat me up at all. Anybody remember the Power Rangers? The Ninja Turtles? Yeah, that's what I grew up on. We were watching Boyhood yesterday, and that was kind of bringing me back to a few different things. And especially when you're a child and there's something going on around you that you're too small to affect, especially when it's dealing with an adult in your life, your mother or something like that. I would always think that, man, if somebody tried to mess with my mom, I would beat him up, because I thought I could beat anyone up. Like I could beat him up, But then there are those times that you kind of realize things get put into perspective. You go to high school, you get in a few different fights, and you didn't just like Kamehameha them. One more thing I just wanted to flash before I leave, though. Just another little important thing to me. You guys familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? To me, being an artist, it gets a little touchy, because sometimes, the struggles can really feed your art, And then a lot of times when artists don't have those struggles, they don't have anything to create. But the hierarchy of needs, it's pretty much you're trying to get to the top of the pyramid, and you can think and do things while you're there. If your food and your water, your sleep and all that isn't there, you're not going to be able to do too much. And then you got your security of, your employment, resources, family, health, all that stuff. And after you get that tackled, you got your friendship, your family, sexual intimacy. Then above that, self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect for others, and all that. And then the top is really being able to have creative thoughts. Yeah, I just like to throw that out because that really does a lot for me, because then while I'm looking at myself, I can look at others and I can kind of see where they're at, and then I can understand why they're acting the way they are or what they might need. Because sometimes you might be at the green part, or you might be at the top, and you're collaborating with others and you're wondering, why aren't they getting this? I don't get it. But they're over here worrying about this, Seattle, we have one of the hugest homeless populations, and I'll always have empathy for homeless people. There was a point, and I still am kind of like this, where I wouldn't give money physically to homeless people, because I was out there selling dope to them, and I was seeing all of the ones, and I was like, you guys all smoke dope, and then you guys drink, and you guys shoot heroin, and you buy some dope to mix in with your heroin sometimes. And I was literally seeing every single one of their faces like that. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. But the thing is that it's not like they woke up there. There's one thing that I say that homeless people don't have that most of you guys do have, and that's a support system. They have, sometimes it's mental things that they were dealing with since they were young. Sometimes they go through a traumatizing situation and they get PTSD from that or something. Sometimes it's drugs. Sometimes it might have been at a party, they did the wrong drug and they never came back. Whatever. There's so many different things and we never know why. But I just imagine how hard it would be to go when you're trying to deal with all these things. Because there are a lot of a lot of times they don't have any of these things. And then trying to go forward and create or even just get a job when you're smelling like trash or whatever. So I just put it into perspective whenever I'm thinking about other people that I'm working with and myself. I know we got time with it. What time everybody's getting out here at 10:30? Oh, got you. Anybody have any questions or anything like that? Oh. Got everybody's money. Raise your hand if you've ever been to church. Raise your hand if you still go to church. Okay, not too many people. So, what is your church? If you don't go to church every week, what is your church? Nature, music? Nice. Because one thing that I've definitely found in church that is helpful is fellowship. And, you know, because my mom raised me up in the church. I'm not a Christian right now, but she always, you know, told me that you don't have to go to church to be a Christian. Like, you don't have to go to church to be a good Christian or anything like that. But, you know, church is helpful for fellowship. You're meeting with people, like-minded people, and you're building. And so I like to think of that all the time because you've got people that are so passionate about something. They're in the church service, they're crying, they're really passionate about that. They're not lying about it. And I think that I always look at things like this. If I'm doing something and someone else is doing something and I'm not going as hard as them, you know, how can I even get a result even close to them? You know, it was the same thing when I was selling drugs. I was looking at the police. They're out there 24/7 doing different shifts. They've been out there before I've been alive. How can I compete with that? Not good. Should probably stop doing that. You know, it's the same thing with church. There's people that go and they fellowship each consistently. So I challenge people, what is your church? If you don't have it, where do you find it? Where do you find that fellowship with others? Past the bar, I'd like to say, you know, past like going out to the bar, you know, where is that fellowship with other people? And if it's not there, I encourage people to create that. The other thing is you guys have been here every month. I have another question. What has come from this? And you know, outside of your own mind, like what's come, has anyone made connections with other people? Are there any kind of collaborations going on? Any hands? Anybody? Anybody? Nice. Okay, so that right there tells me I would encourage you guys to start with this one and then the next one when you have more time to collaborate, get each other's number, at least an email, talk. Like, that was the other thing that I hated about church. I remember I've known people since I was 3 years old, and I go up to them, and, you know, they're like, hey, how you doing? Like, I'm doing great. Oh, great, man, it's great to see you, great to see you. And that's the only contact that we know. We don't know anything about each other. So I decided to just change this up one day. So one day I walked in, I was like, they walked up to me and were like, how you doing there? How you doing, Solomon? Horrible. Oh, great to hear. Don't be that. Don't be that. There's this crazy dude, well, he was just a little off, but he was in church, and he was like the one of the dudes I connect with. He's like, church is like this a lot of times. And that's what I would do. I'd be like, what are you doing? He's like, put your finger up, put your thumb up, and do that. And I didn't understand it at first, but he was like, just that little contact, that little, you know, and it's kind of almost like just saying that you did it and you just do it, you know? So don't ever do that. Always be passionate about everything that you do. Don't do anything if you're not passionate about it. That's the same thing I tell people in school. I tell them, don't let school get in the way of your education. Don't worry about the standards. I know a lot of people that go off to the military because they feel like they need to do something official because they missed the boat to school. Or they need to go and get into a class. You have those people that keep on enrolling into community college and then getting out and enrolling, so they feel like they need to do something. And I just encourage, don't do something if you're not fully passionate about it. You know, just go fully out for what you're passionate about. And then the other thing is I say, don't have a backup plan. Do you want to be a backup plan ass nigga when you grow up? imagine you're however old you are, however mature you are, whatever, and you're doing your backup plan. Does that sound like living? Nah, so let's not do that. So I encourage everyone to live, to talk amongst each other, get some numbers, get my info. I'm always doing this, always talking. So you can find me later. If this was 5 hours, we'd be going into some deep, deep shit. So thank you very much. And the last one, my mom's got the sign that says love, so love, y'all. Lastly, before you guys get out here, I want everyone to come down here. Just come down here. You can leave your stuff, leave your belongings. You can leave your paper, leave everything. Keep your hands free. Also, I want you to raise your hand if you've done everything that you want to do in your life. Nobody? Raise your hand if you've done everything that you want to do in your life. She has? You ready to die? That's what's up. Okay. Okay. Yeah, come on down. Come on down, brother. Oh, oh, you want to watch the show? Okay, I got something for you. Come on down. Everybody come on down. We don't got a lot of time. Just come on down here. So I want everyone to, yeah, come right here. Just come to the front. Like, just bunch up. Get as close to, as possible as you can. Close as possible. Jake, can you give me a little keys real quick? Lubricate the moment. Church. No. Yeah, get even closer, guys. Get closer. Closer. Like touching. Get closer. Come on, bring it in. Closer. Like, think that you guys are trying to keep out something that's trying to travel through you. And if you leave that space, it can travel through you and steal all your money. Keep it getting closer. Come on, y'all. We're not leaving until we get closer. Even closer. You'll see. All right. What's your name, brother? Robert? Raz. There you go. Robert, have you ever crowd surfed before? Crowd surfed before. You ready? Who else? Who else has never crowd surfed before? Who's that? Who's that small person? Are you gonna do that right now? Who else? Who else? I'm gonna start calling people out. Nobody wants to do it. Right here? Come on up. Come on up. Make some noise, y'all. Make some noise. Okay, so this is what's gonna happen, y'all. You guys are gonna yell and make some noise, and you're gonna put your hands in the air, right? You're gonna put your hands in the air because you have to carry her. And she's gonna jump into the crowd. I'm gonna help her. Dylan, you wanna give me some help? Come up here. Let's pick her up. Are you guys ready? Because you guys we're all liable. We all signed a paper and bought a ticket. So when she's ready, we're gonna pick her up and put her out there. You guys are just gonna surf her around, and then when you're done, you can bring her, drop her in the back. Set her down gently. Drop her in the back. No. All right, y'all ready? Okay? All right, let's go. Make some noise for y'all. Wait, what's your name? Make some noise for Sarah, y'all. Make some noise for Sarah, y'all. Probably sometime in November, late November. Who put this in here? Canadian? What is it, England? Oh, wow. You guys want your money back? Can I make it rain real quick? I never get to do this. Hold on. Thank you, y'all. One last thing. Just be a kid sometimes, like as much as you can. Try to be just youthful. That's something that I've learned. Sometimes we put these parameters for ourselves. I remember when I was a kid, I used to have these parameters on myself. I remember I used to look at my friends, and they'd be running around with chocolate chips on their face, dripping off, and like doing the weirdest things, like acting like kids, right? And I remember when I was like 4 years old, I thought, and I was like, when am I going to be able to, I could never go back and be like that. Every day I get older, and it makes less and less sense for me to be childlike or for me to mess up. I remember having this thought in my head because I was such a polite kid. I was scared of people's parents. Like, I was like, oh, how are you doing? And I didn't really want to speak to them because I didn't want to mess up. It's like that. And I remember thinking that. And I would always be that kid in class. I'm sure you guys have been this kid where you're not really messing up. Everyone else is messing up, and then you get called out for something. You're like, everyone else is doing this. I wasn't even. But they're like, but you know better. I was that kid. So I encourage you to be like a child or be like an old person. One of those rude old people who are like, I don't give a fuck. I've seen it all, been through it all. I don't give a fuck. So don't wait till you're that old to get it. Just be like that, always. I mean, be polite, but just be a child. If you want to go watch it, go watch a fucking cartoon. Go have a sleepover, For real. All right, y'all. Thank you so much.